Hey everybody, Bobofoot here. Wow, didn't we have an interesting night last night? We had a big post from Crumb with the road ahead for July 2021. Lot of controversy in this post. So we're going to go through it here and I'm going to go through my thoughts on what this means for Swogo going forwards, what it means for the characters involved in this, your roster, etc. So let's see what they said. Hi Holotable Heroes, this month we're experimenting with a new format for the road ahead. Doja Fett and myself present the important announcements in video form, but we've also posted some of the highlights and major details in this forum post. We would love to hear your feedback on this format, and let us know if you want to see more videos like this. Personally, I liked the video, I liked the style, it was great, would love to see more of that. There's a ton of information on upcoming units, features and dates. It goes without saying that these details and times are subject to change as we get closer to release. Okay, so we're getting a new ship, Executor. Love it. Executor was my favourite capital ship, like big hulking, I think it's like 12 kilometers long, super star destroyer. Fantastic. How that's implemented into the game, it's going to be available from a new Journey Guide Fleet Mastery. So, unsure how this is going to work, if it's going to be similar to Holdo and all the non-TB capital ships, if it'll be you get X shards every time you do the event, and then like it'll come back every month or so. One thing that could be an issue with this is if this is required for Lord Vader in one of his second or third tier. I think that's unlikely, but I think that needs to be on people's radar that if this is similar to Holdo and Hux's capital ships, you need to bear in mind that maybe if you want to get Vader early, you might need to save some crystals to refresh the fleet mastery. So just bear that in mind. But man, these requirements. So you need a Relic 7 Vader. You need a Relic 8 Piet, a Relic 8 Boba Fett, a Relic 5 TIE Fighter Pilot, a Relic 5 Bosk, a Relic 5 IG-88, and a Relic 5 Dengar. Now this sounds pretty bad, but let's have a look at this and think about it logically. So I'd say that most people that would be looking at this event would already have Vader at Relic 7. Like, he's a requirement for other GLs. He's a very powerful toon. So the Vader requirement has got to be essentially a freebie. Additionally, Piet. Piet was a requirement for Sith Eternal Emperor. So if you have him, you're going to have Piet at Relic 5, I think it was. It might have been 3, but likely you're going to have them at Relic 5. Going to 8 feels painful, but he's a good toon, and you're getting the added ship stats out of that. In the same way that people would relegate General Kenobi when Relicates first came out, just because it made Negotiator better, I think you're likely to get the same sort of benefit from relegating Admiral Piet. But this one, Boba Fett, Relegate. I think a lot of people are going to hate this. And me, for one, I don't like it. Like, that's a heavy investment for a toon that hasn't had any real buffs at all. But there is an upside to this. Because people are getting Django to Relic 7 for Kenobi, because you also require Bosk and Dengar to Relic 5 to get the Executor, having a Relic 8 Boba, you basically have a decent to very good bounty hunter team. Not the optimal one, because if you're just following the requirements, you may not have the Mandalorian and you may not have Grief Karga. And they're the ones that really sort of take the team up a notch. But still, you're going to have a very good, very scary bounty hunter team for GA. That's a bonus. And with some good, with some good modding and bringing up one or two other toons, maybe not even bringing them up too much, and you can get away with it on how you mod them. This bounty hunter team that you're already going to have 3 decent relics will be able to take on a Darth Revan team, and I think that's a pretty good investment. Then we have TIE Fighter Pilot at Relic 5. TIE Fighter Pilot, bad character, but good ship. It's going to make your Empire fleets better, and maybe you don't know about this, but you can use a negotiator composition including TIE Fighter as a front ship against the negotiator Ahsoka compositions. That's going to make that fight a lot easier. So really, I think that's pretty good. Bosk, we'll lump Bosk and Dengar together. Again, they go nicely into a bounty hunter team. Bosk has a fantastic ship. I think a lot of people have him relics already. Dengar, probably a lot less have him relic. But again, he's going to slot into that team and he's going to help out. So that's fine. IG-88 though, that's a different story. That's a bit sour. I'm not looking forward to gearing that character and never using him anywhere. Like, IG-88 was usable when we had GG Nuke as a team for Arena, and really hasn't been usable since that died 18 months ago. So that's a bit rough. So then we have the ship requirements. I would assume that the vast majority of people are going to have Slave 1, IG-2000, Houndstooth, TIE Advanced, TIE Bomber, and TIE Fighter at 7 stars. Like, if you've been playing for a long time, these are basically free ships. Houndstooth, arguably the best ship in the game. TIE Advanced, decent ship. TIE Bomber, decent ship. TIE Fighter, again, decent ship, as we covered. Going to be good versus some negotiator comps as well. IG-2000 and Slave 1, a bit lacking, but they're free ships essentially. Razor Crest, now this is a tough one. Depending on when the Fleet Mastery goes live and whether you need the 7-star Razor Crest straight away, this could be a problem. So you need to factor in when it's going to go live, how many shards you're at with the next conquest, how many shards we're going to get from the next conquest, because it's possible the rewards are reduced somewhat. But you should try to aim for Razor Crest 7-star after the next conquest. We're getting another character which is going to make a lot of people happy. That's a Cybernetic Legs Maul. And they said in the video that Maul is going to work well with the Galactic Legend Lord Vader. But I'm not really sure how that's going to pan out, because Maul is going to be a Mandalorian, and I'd expect he's also going to be a scoundrel. These are 2 tags which I wouldn't have thought synergize with Lord Vader's kit. Like, I can see Lord Vader being a leader who applies bonuses to clones, potentially, because the clones still followed him after he turned. 501st, potentially, for the same reason. Sith and Empire. These are the only ones that I really think he can have a leadership for, or he's going to have a generic leadership like JML and C, where the bonuses, he gets additional bonuses for certain factions, or some of the bonuses are doubled, etc. So maybe it's other parts of Maul's kit which are going to synergize better with Vader, but we're going to have to see on that front. And Maul's going to be a conquest toon, so similar to Commander Ahsoka Tano. So you're going to want to get your max rewards to get your 90 shards from the box, assuming it's the same, and then buy 20 shards from the conquest stores every conquest run, so you max him out on the 3rd conquest. Then we've been announced Galactic Legend Lord Vader. I must say I'm really, really happy that they have gone with the Lord Vader from the Jedi Temple with the robe up look. It's so much better than the look we got for the Kenobi event. So that made me really happy. That was the thing that made me the happiest in this post, to be honest. Super excited. But his requirements, they are tough, to say the least. Hunter, Tech, and Wrecker, all at Relic 5. If you've been farming these pretty hard, you probably have a 6-star or close to 6-star Hunter, probably a mid 5-star to 6-star Tech, probably a 4 to 5-star Wrecker. It's going to be hard to get these guys 7-starred, just all of them. Well, Wrecker mainly, by the time the Vader event goes live, which should be 1st or 2nd week of September. And you have to factor in that it's likely Echo will be required as well for tier 2 or 3. I'd be very surprised if they made Hunter, Tech, and Wrecker a requirement and not Echo, who was formerly a member of Gas's 501st. Then you've got the added problem that these guys need a lot of gear. Like, I think it was, when I was looking at it, and this may have included Omega, I think it was close to 2,000 Kairos, 900 Carbontes, and I think 500 stun guns. It's a lot of gear. But even without Omega, if you do the other 4, you're going to get one hell of a team for GA. So it feels rough from the getting Vader perspective, but you are getting a whole powerhouse of a team out of the deal. So next requirement, people are going to hate this. Tusken Raider at Relic 5. It's a character, you have to gear him up. You're deleting a load of gear to be able to unlock a Galactic Legend. But we all knew at least one Tusken was going to be required for Vader. Maybe 2. Like, it's possible that Tusken Shaman is required for tier 2 or 3, but I very highly doubt that Aurora will be required at all. And then the last requirement we have here, Padme Relic 8. If anyone thought that a Relic 8 Padme wasn't going to be required for a Vader after seeing the 2 Relic 8s that were required for Kenobi, they were kidding themselves. This was obvious. This was like locked in. Same for General Skywalker. These 2 R8s were just locked in. There was no way that wasn't going to be the case. Not going to cover the conquest stuff. I think I'll have a look how this plays out when the next conquest starts and give that a go. But it's conquest. They think it's going to be harder. People are going to find strategies. It's going to be easy. That's just the way conquest works. So, defense changes. The details of what's getting changed and added are available below, but this won't go into effect for about another month in order to give you time to make an informed decision on whether to re-relic those characters up to Relic 8 or use those resources somewhere else. So essentially, they haven't said the time, but we're going to get Relic 8 refunds for Darth Vader, Wat Tambor, General Skywalker, Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker, and Dark Trooper. All of them, apart from Dark Trooper, will be sent back to Relic 7. Dark Trooper will be sent back to Relic 5. So with that in mind, Darth Vader, terrifying swing. So he's getting an increased damage multiplier across all tiers of 20%, and he's getting ability block at 100% versus Jedi and Rebels. So yeah, he's getting a bit. It looks like he's getting a bit more damage on his basic, and he'll be better. And he has unresistible ability block on basic versus Jedi and Rebels. That's a solid upgrade. More damage, always great. Unresistible ability block versus Jedis and Rebels, nice little bonus. Maybe not like, it's not a deal breaker, it's not like gonna set the world on fire, but it's a nice little upgrade. So Culling Blade, this is the one people aren't gonna like. Reduces the damage multiplier on all tiers by 40%. Increases debuff scaling to 100% against raid bosses on the final tier. Final tier has plus 25% crit chance when used. Okay, so Vader's going to deal less base damage with Cull. Need to see how much less base damage, but less base damage with Cull. Yeah, that's not great. He is going to deal significantly more damage in the Rancor raid. I think that's a good bonus. He's also going to have a lot higher crit chance, specifically for Cull. Yeah, this is okay. Like, I don't know how much of a difference this reduced damage multiplier is going to have versus GLs, but he does so much damage already versus everything else that if this is a flat 40% nerf, which I'm not even sure it is, but if it's a flat 40% nerf, when he's throwing a 400k Culling Blade versus like a Nest or something, oh no, it's going to be 260k or something. Like, sure, that Nest is still dead. Like, it's just irrelevant. The only thing that this is relevant for is GLs. And I don't think it's this ability which is going to kill Vader versus GLs. But we'll come to that later. Merciless Massacre, extra 25% crit chance. Fantastic. Like, this is great. And we'll come to that in a second. Also, Vader getting a little upgrade, so he's getting 2% prot recovery when a dot expires. This is nice. Like, this is a little freebie that makes Vader lead a little bit more sustainable. Well, a lot more sustainable actually, because there's a lot of dots in that team. And if you're using Vader in a non-Vader lead team, you're going to also just get a little bit more sustain, it always helps. It's a little bit, but it always helps. So the important thing we need to consider here is, well, first, Vader versus Rey is dead. I'm not sure if it's dead because of Cull. It's dead because of a change we'll come to later for Thrawn. But Vader typically had some very tough modding requirements. Like, you wanted to hit at least 75% crit chance base. So when you went into you had 100% crit chance. Sometimes you even wanted to go above that to factor in characters with crit avoidance, like Rey with a crit arrow plus the Holdo Zeta, things like that. Also, you still wanted to hit 80 to 100% potency, maybe even 110, 115% potency. It was very hard to hit the crit chance numbers plus the potency numbers while also maintaining a crit damage or offense set. This increase of base 50% in MM plus 25% to Cull is going to make modding Vader much better. He's going to be, versus non-GLs, he's going to be much more powerful. Like, people that don't have insane mods they're going to have a much more powerful Vader because they're going to be able to go straight into crit damage or offense. So they're going to have much more higher raw damage while still hitting the potency number because the crit chance number becomes utterly irrelevant. Like Vader's base crit chance, let's just take a Relic 7 Vader's base crit chance. So he's got 55% base crit chance. So his crit chance is now 130% with Cull. That's fantastic. You need +0 crit chance. So you're going to get your offense or CD set, your CD triangle, and then a potency set with a potency primary cross, and you're going to be good to go versus everything where Vader's viable now. Okay, so next we have gas. Well, gas has been too strong for a long time. This toon has been essentially nuts since he came out. Same for Revan, and Revan isn't getting enough, but gas was the meta. Then the first GLs came out. Gas was the meta because everyone slotted Rey with Jedis. Then the second GLs came out. Gas was the meta because everyone put gas under JML. Then the third set came out and everyone slots gas under GMK. Gas is busted. So, CG wants to make tanks better. And to make tanks better, they don't want toons to have flat ignore defense because having no defense means having the tank stats aren't viable. I'm completely 100% on board with that. More modding diversity, potentially more team diversity, fantastic. So what are they doing with gas? He's getting an increase to... He's losing ignore defense on his basic. He's gaining increased defense penetration. If we take a look at Gas's relic table, Gas has 316 armor penetration. I don't know how that mitigates flat armor at all, but as armor penetration goes, his base armor penetration is already high. He's gaining 65% additional armor penetration, which is, so that's taking that to somewhere in the 500 region, 450, 500, something like that, just spitballing. And then gaining a massive buff to it if all allies are 5-0 first. I'm fine with that. I don't like that Gas just comes in and terminates teams because his basic is ridiculous. Absolutely reasonable. And I think the rest of this is staying the same, so that's fine. His leadership, though, his leadership is a nice buff. So it's this part here. Oh, actually, both parts of this are great. I didn't even read the second part. So if a 5-0 first ally takes a turn while Gas is in cover, Gas recovers 10% prot instead of 20. Okay, that's good. Because when he gets to 100% prot, it's prot and turn meter. When he gets to 100%, he stands up. So this is good versus the CLS counter. I'm not sure, it's not going to take the CLS counter's viability away completely. Not at all. But it's not infrequent for that when you drop Gas, 5s will take a turn before you get to kill 5s. 5s taking a turn just knocks a turn off of the clock before Gas stands up. So you can see situations coming up where you kill the 5s, you kill the Rex, but maybe you don't kill both the Echo and the Arc, maybe you don't kill either, and then the Gas stands up. Then you've got to kill the Gas again to kill the other two. Then Gas is going to stand up, and Gas is going to have 100% protection instead of just having what protection he had when you killed the last two members. I can see a lot more failures happening for CLS versus gas. And I think that's a good thing. I think having to this will potentially change the way you want to mod your gas team, and it'll also potentially change the way you want to mod your CLS team. So I think that's good because like a higher speed on the Rex, a higher speed on the Arc may mean they take that extra turn, which helps your gas get up faster. I think this is a good change. So next we have Luke. If I'm reading this right, Prevailing Strike flat out just got a buff. It now just deals extra damage to tanks. Great. Like I'm all for Luke dealing some bonus damage to tanks. That's fine. Like it's not a nerf. It's here to mitigate the nerf to Jedi's will, but still, like this is a nice addition to have. So Stalwart Advance. Stalwart Advance no longer no longer gives a buff to the people with Jedi's will that they ignore defense on all attacks. Okay, that's rough. But you get a bit of tenacity as a bonus instead. Meh, whatever. The offense percentage you gain goes from 25% to 50%. So you're dealing less damage against high armor units, but you're dealing higher base damage. It's not going to be the same ratio, obviously, but you do get to deal more damage. You get to have more offense. So versus some characters, you're going to be dealing maybe more damage than you were dealing before because some characters just have low armor. And versus tanks, you're going to deal less damage. Honestly, that's the point of a tank. The point of a tank is to absorb the hit for the team. And the teams that use JKL, like if it's with JML, you get into his ultimate, he's ignoring taunt anyway. You can then use this to focus down the squishy units. JKR, marking the squishy units. I think this is fine. Honestly, I like that. And he's getting a base armor penetration increase of 195. If we look at Luke's Relic 7 armor penetration, wow, here we go. It's 95. At Relic 8, it's 125. His base armor penetration, speaking bluntly, is dog shit. So you're over tripling it. Great. He's going to deal a bit more damage versus tanks than he normally did when he didn't have Jedi's Will. He's going to deal less when he does have Jedi's Will, but Luke is going to be just fine. He's a very powerful attacking unit, and I don't see this changing his viability and the JKR viability versus SLKR. I think maybe there'll be some modding tweaks. Maybe there'll be some things you need to consider, some reclocks or whatever. But I don't think it's losing any of the viability that it has right now. And I think that's good. Okay. Wat Tambor. The first hit to the Vader team that we've got to in this post. So if we read this as it's actually meant to be written, Darth Vader no longer ignores defense. Okay. So not quite sure how much armor penetration Darth Vader had. We'll take a quick look. Let's get in here at his relic levels. So Vader has decent base armor penetration. Like it's comparable to General Skywalker's. So this hurts. There's no second guessing it. This hurts. But so your Vader Ray counter. Honestly, based on this post, your Vader Ray counter is dead. So you need to start thinking, where else can I use Vader versus other teams? If you want to use Vader versus Darth Revan, You didn't need what anyway, really, or you at least didn't need it for the armor penetration part, because like fear screwed their arm. Not fear. Ferocity killed their armor anyway. So it's going to be fine there. It wasn't super viable versus SLKR. You could use it versus some comps, and Vader will be the same versus the comps that it did work against. And that's about it. So, like, Vader's losing a bit of GL viability. Like, he can't beat Rey. 100%. Like, that counter is just flat dead. But this is fine. Like, you're losing some armor, ignore defense. It's fine. Like, it's reasonable. Maybe they could have added here that instead of attacks ignore defense, the character gains like plus 50% armor penetration or something like that. And like that would have been a good change here, but this does hurt. So now we have character raid boss changes. The following abilities have been updated to include Galactic Legends to the raid boss exclusion. So basically, every ability in the game on a character that says versus raid bosses now applies to GLs. That's the long and short of all of these changes. So corrupted battle meditation no longer applies to GLs. Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's not great for Darth Revan. It's great for the GLs. Sith enemies can't gain bonus turn meter except GLs. So C, I don't think had a lot of TM gain stuff except his now rework. I expect that this is more to apply to something in Vader's kit, or just to have parity going forwards, just so like there isn't an issue in the future. General Grievous no longer rips 10% of a GL's health. Okay, I mean that's whatever. This basically isn't text. General Skywalker no longer increases the cooldown of Galactic Legends, and no longer reduces the max health of Galactic Legends. Whew. Okay, so the increased cooldown thing, I think that's completely reasonable. Honestly, I don't even like the increased cooldown thing on gas. I think it's too oppressive, but it's there. It's been there forever. Whatever. People aren't going to like this because people like using JML gas versus Rey, and then you just focus down the Rey until you can kill her because she has no health left, that she's a pansy and falls over to a stiff breeze. Honestly, I think that's irrelevant. Like for top end players, any player that has Ki-Adi Mundi, this change is irrelevant. You put Gas as a 5-0 first team, you stick Cam in your JML, you're still going to kill a Rey. Even without Cam, if you play fast enough with a Shak T, Grandmaster Yoda, and 2 other reasonable Jedi comp, you're not going to have any issues killing a Rey. It's just going to happen because if you've got your JML modded correctly for high protection, you will get through her. You might have to play fast so you don't time out. This is going to be fine. So I think I think the General Skywalker change here, it's a good change. Oh, Thrawn. How the mighty have fallen. He was already losing viability because people were locking him into, I want to use Vader versus Rey, and I need the fracture. And he wasn't really used as anything outside of that. Honestly, I already thought the Vader Rey counter was sketchy versus a number of the comps. This change, completely fine. It utterly destroys Vader versus Rey. 100% that is not a team that works any longer. Not in the way it's set up currently. And I suspect not at all. I think this is a good change, and I think it means that people will start thinking about Thrawn and how they use him versus other teams. Because Thrawn is a powerful unit that is really a bit underutilized at the moment. So I like that. Jedi Knight Luke. He's just flat out getting a buff. So Repulse currently, we'll just pull up Luke's kit. The way Repulse currently works, you inflict stun and vulnerable on enemy units, and then all enemies lose 10% max health and protection. So it already didn't stun GLs because they're immune to stun. And sure, it meant you crit versus GLs, but in every team where Luke is used, he basically has a 100% crit chance. He dispels versus SOKR. He dispels on basic before they reapply their advantage. So he crits on his basic anyway. Like this part is essentially irrelevant versus GLs. So what that's changing to is he'll deal. Oh, he still keeps the vulnerable, so he just loses the stun versus GLs, which didn't do anything, and instead he deals damage 3 times. This attack in the Crankle raid can deal 80 plus K damage 3 times. If it does the same versus a GL, maybe it doesn't, maybe it deals less, maybe it deals more. But if we take that as a flat value, this attack turns into a 240k damage attack versus a GL. Honestly, Luke got buffed in this. Like Luke got flat out buffed out of these changes. All of the changes combined. Fantastic. Gideon no longer demoralizes GLs. Yeah, fine. I think that's fine. I don't think that really changes his viability. And C3PO, same thing. Whatever. So, Rey. Rey's Whirlwind is dealing 2 times massive damage to target enemy instead of 3. And so this is all the same. Apart from this is going to 2 instead of 3. But she's going to deal 7% more damage with massive damage per relic amplifier. So what this is saying is that Rey at relic 7, Rey is going to deal roughly the same damage with 2 whirlwinds as she does with 3 currently. But when you get her to relic 8 and relic 9, she's going to deal more damage than she's dealing currently. And I think this will inspire people to want to put more relics on Rey. And I think that's good for the game in general. Like, Whirlwind is a good ability. Like, it kills people or it doesn't. So if people want to put more relic levels on her, maybe it changes if it kills someone or not, maybe not. I think it's fine. I think it's fine either way. It's nice to have the ability scale as the game progresses than saying staying stagnant. If we look at like the massive damage effects currently, like you look at Savage's Overpower and Probe Droid's Explosion, they deal massive damage. They deal 100k damage. That just hasn't scaled with the game because that tickles characters like Malik or, in fact, just most of the high relic characters now. It just doesn't deal anything. So it's nice to have this ability to scale with the future of the game. And we have one last change. Whew. People will hate this one. Sith allies gain 5% turn meter whenever an enemy gains a buff that cannot be dispelled. So, whenever I load in my Imperial Troopers team and they gain a stack of Emperor's Trap, my team gains 25% turn meter. Okay. People are going to say this hurts. This kills troopers versus Sith Eternal Emperor, etc., etc., etc. I don't think that's true. I think that troopers already struggled with or couldn't beat Sith Eternal Emperor with Malik DR or Malik BSF, with Malik plus some other powerful Sith. I think this change doesn't change that at all. Like, maybe it seals the coffin. So versus that comp, Troopers is dead. That's fine. I'm fine with that. If someone wants to invest a Galactic Legend with a Galactic Challenge and a Journey character to stop my marquees, go ahead. That feels balanced. That feels balanced to me. But if you're looking at Sith Eternal Emperor with, say, Trio, like Traya Scion Nihilus, I think Troopers could still work. Sure, you can't use Gideon in the comp because Gideon will go before the rest of the team, apply the Emperor's Trap, the Sith will go off. I think if you have Piet, super fast, so a speed set with really good secondaries, then his second set as being potency, with a potency primary cross, and that Piet, when you factor in the leader bonuses of both teams, if Piet goes after C and before any other characters, and his potency's high enough, he's going to apply that mass daze to the whole team. That's going to turn off Palpatine's turn meter game. So it's going to depend a little on layering, because I don't know if the daze will apply before the Emperor's Trap applies. I'm not sure how that'll work. I'm not even sure if it's relevant. It might be. It might be that you need Stark as close to Piet speed as humanly possible, just in case like that bleed over means that you can cascade the two. That might be okay. I think that there's some testing that can be done here, and that I think Troopers might still be viable versus non-Malik DR comps, Sith Eternal Emperors. So I don't think that team is dead. I think there's a chance. I think it just needs some testing. So the other thing that's happening in this is that we're getting some relicates back. Darth Vader, Gas, Jedi Knight Luke, and Watt are all being rolled back from Relic 8 to Relic 7, and Dark Trooper is being rolled back from Relic 8 to Relic 5. And you'll get, if you had those characters at Relic 8, you'll get the appropriate mats back in your inbox. They haven't said when this is going to happen, but I'm looking at which tunes, because I have all of those apart from Watt at Relic 8, and I'm starting to think which tunes I would take back to Relic 8. I think I'm only going to take Vader back to Relic 7. If it turns out that a Relic 8 Vader is still viable against some GL teams, or that the damage nerf to Cole means that you need a Relic 8 Vader to beat Darth Revan, maybe I'll take Vader back to Relic 8. But in my mindset right now, I would leave Vader at Relic 7. Gas, if you're going for Lord Vader, you take him to Relic 8. Even if not, this dude's a nuts. This dude is nuts. Like, the 5 of us team is still, outside of GL teams, top 3 team. Maybe the best team. I strongly recommend if you had a Relic 8 Gas, take him straight back to Relic 8. Jedi Knight Luke. This is slightly tougher. So Jedi Knight Luke is powerful. I was never on board for relicating him straight away, but my guild wanted me to, and so I did. I didn't notice a massive difference. Like, I beat all the SLKR teams, Relic 8, whatever, without a Relic 8 JKL, so it was fine. So taking him to 8 did really nothing for me apart from put some GP on my account. But he might need the damage from the Relic 8 upgrade to all of his 3 attacks to mitigate the loss to ignore defense. So it's possible that JKL will want to go back to Relic 8. I'm not going to do it straight away. I'm going to wait and see what happens. I'll try get some shard mates to put JKL, to put SOK on defense, try that out in arena, and see from there. So we'll see how that goes, but I would probably hold fire on JKL. And Dark Trooper, I love Dark Trooper. Dark Trooper is so fun. It's so fun just smashing like the faces of some Darth Revans. It's great. But he does it at Relic 7. I don't think you need Relic 8 on Dark Trooper. So I think you can just hold Dark Trooper. I think you can hold Luke. And I think you can hold Vader. That frees up 3 Relic 8s. Because you're going to want to put the one back on gas. Which happens to partially pay for your Admiral Piet and Boba Fett Relic 8s. So swings and roundabouts from CG. But all in all, there's a lot of negativity about this post in general in the community. And I get it. Like, when you read it, it looks like, insane requirements needed for Executor. Oh my god, Bad Batch for Lord Vader, what are we going to do? Oh my god, all of my toons are getting nerfed. When you dig a little bit deeper and you spend a little time thinking about it, it's not as bad as it seems, I don't think. And I think it's exciting. I think we're going to get to test a lot of different counters now. We're going to test teams' viability. We're going to have maybe more strategy, because if they're trying to lock you into GL counters, so GL versus GL counters, which is never going to be the case. People will always find a counter. We always have. We always will. It's just the way the game is. But if it locks you into GL versus GL counters, then you have to balance that in GA. You have to balance that in TW. Am I putting too many GLs on defense? Am I not putting enough? Am I making it too easy for my opponents? What's the best non-GL versus non-GL counters? Like, is my CLS good enough versus their gas now? Can my Vader deal with their DR? Like, because my Vader's not being used versus Rey, so I want to slot it in against a higher tier team as possible. Does that mean I'm going versus DR? Does that mean I'm trying it versus Bad Batch? Does that mean I'm using it versus BAM? Like, when you don't lock your Vader into being hard locked into killing a Rey, or when you don't lock like your troopers into being hard locked into killing a Sith Eternal Emperor, it opens up possibilities. And the more possibilities we have, the better. So if they want to say GLs versus GLs is a vacuum, and then the rest of your roster is to deal with the rest of the roster, I think that's fine. Maybe I'm a bit more optimistic than a lot of people, but we'll see. But I think it's interesting times, and I'm super excited for a new fleet meta with the best capital ship in the Star Wars universe. It's going to be amazing. The ship's going to be busted. No way it isn't the new meta. But we'll see. Thanks for checking in. Hope you liked the video. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe, share with your shard mates, guild mates, friends, etc. Thanks very much. See you next time.